Hey there guys, how's it going? My name is Sumit Chatterjee from the Flow Zone Academy and I'm a flow state coach, which means that I help you feel better and perform better. Today, let's get real about internet addiction. Such an enormous problem, right? Such an enormous problem, especially right now. Are you addicted to the internet? Because it's okay if you are. I find that I am at times too. But you will think of every single justification, every single rationalization, every single way to prove to yourself that this is actually helping you. No, I'm using the internet for knowledge, or whatever your excuse is. Oh no, but the internet helps me. I mean, sure, I guess it's an escape, but okay, first of all, let's slow down there. Okay? Let's not make any vast generalizations or assumptions about this thing because internet addiction is still an addiction. A lot of people overlook the addiction because it's instantaneous. It's right at our fingertips, right? We can access it at any time, and there's this freedom to it. It's like everything is on a silver platter, everything is at the tip of my fingers, and I can get it at any time. So you might be using your smartphone, but turning into a smartphone zombie, or smombie, as some people call it. Okay, we've come up with these new terminologies nowadays based on internet addiction. And I think that's really fascinating and it tells a lot about our own minds because if you ever read the book Hooked, you can kind of understand that products out there, especially the internet, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all these different social medias, they are actually creating those things to tap into your internal desires. So realizing this actually gives you so much power over the thing, right? YouTube has this algorithm, like right now you're watching a YouTube video on this. It's funny, right? Maybe you came across this video, maybe you saw it on your recommendeds, whatever it is, right? Just be able to notice that something pulled you towards it. And the thing is, it works within the algorithm. The recommended videos, it's like one video after the other. They know the way your brain works. They know it one step ahead of you. All right? So the thing is, they are going to tap into this feeling internally. So you might feel bored or you might go on Quora or Reddit. You might feel loneliness and you might go to Tinder or Facebook. These things are very hardwired behaviors, right? And they're internal desires which we seek. It's like, I feel sad, I'm going to use this. Instead of actually feeling the sadness, which is actually, I would say, feel it to heal it. Feel it, deal with it, heal it, get real with it. That's what I would say to you, okay? The first thing to notice is, it's called a cell phone because it's keeping you in a jail cell. Okay, this is by no means helping you move forward and progressing in your life unless you have certain apps on here that are helping you, something to keep track of your momentum, something to help you stay on task, an alarm for you to wake up to, certain things like that, right, would actually support you. But if you have different streams of communication and thousands of apps on your phone that you're not even using, cut it, cut it, cut it, cut it. This app is way too whack. I need to cut it. Okay, get rid of it. It's not necessary, okay? And I would definitely say that if you can have less channels of communication, less distractions, you can maximize productivity, okay? I said this in my previous video too, ADHD, okay? Basically what's happening is a strengthening of the synaptical connections, okay, in the brain using the internet and the neurochemical changes that happen. Big one is dopamine, right? So the internet is everything in the tip of your fingers, and part of the problem is that there isn't much to do for fun around different places, right? It's like, what do you do for fun in like a small town? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I guess you use the internet, right, to find that escape. Like, get me out of here now, And that's why I feel like it's different, like small towns where they have internet access is very dangerous, man. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just another drug to suppress your negative feelings. But this drug, instead, it's an endorphin rush from having the freedom and the ability to look up anything that you want, right? It's this ability to spot patterns and track things, which is actually a good thing, right? Let's say you're playing video games, you're noticing the different patterns and things like that. Okay, it's stopping you from focusing on one thing at a time. So what can you do? I mean, yeah, there is one way of doing it, which is kind of getting an ad blocker, right? Getting a YouTube blocker for certain times of the day, getting a porn blocker, getting a certain types of blockers that just remind you, or at least different post-it notes or things in your environment that are cues telling you that, look, you got to change this pattern around, right? So your brain reward circuit just wants you to feel good. It cares for you, actually, just wants you to feel good, and it wants the instant thing fast. And so you want to go out and talk to women in bars, but porn seems like a good option right now. It's like you want that diet that seems kind of good, but the pizza seems good right now. It's like you want to work out and have these six-pack abs, but this dessert looks good right now. Okay? So that right now, that instant gratification, that hit of dopamine is what we want to fight against. And not fight against is resist it. We want to appreciate that and notice the fact that we have it. We want to acknowledge it, not deny it. And at the same time, then we want to take power over it because we notice it, because awareness precedes control, all right? So the brain wants that dopamine payout, the same as a substance addiction, right? So what's the thing about this that keeps us going? What's the flow trigger, right, associated with us scrolling or keeping on oh, Pinterest, oh, I found another one, bing, 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 right? It's like this connection, right? It's one thing connected to another thing connected to another thing. So it's never-ending novelty. The internet is never-ending novelty, and novelty is a flow state trigger. Any newness that you experience, any variety that you see, is going to get you more and more and more in that searching mentality, in that thirsty mentality, right? This is why certain, users who are addicted to pornography, they're like, I want the newer thing, I want the newer kind of girl, I want the weirder fetish, right? It's like you go down that rabbit hole because it's like, this one thing won't do it for you because your dopamine circuits are messed with, and it's like, I need the bigger hit, right? It's like the tolerance of drugs, right? You build up a tolerance for certain kind of drugs over time. This is the same thing that happens when you use the internet a lot. You're looking for the next thing, the next article, which excites you even more than the previous article that you're reading. It's like, oh, BuzzFeed isn't enough. I need to go on I need to go on Crackle. I need to look, all these different sites, which basically kind of like variations of the same thing. You know what I mean? So notice the cue, behavior, reward. Cue, behavior, reward. The cue is I'm bored. The behavior is I'm going on Reddit, and the reward is I won't feel bored. Cue is I feel lonely. Behavior is I swipe on Tinder. Reward is I don't feel lonely for the minutes that I'm in the flow state swiping. So the flow state is the most addictive state on the planet, right? But we use the flow state negatively, and that's what becomes an addiction. Because you want to understand the science behind this, right? One of the things that I want to get into is okay, find something to do, like a hobby or an interest or something that you're passionate about, and move into that. Get those blockers. Be a creator, not a consumer. If you're thinking about watching YouTube, create a YouTube video. If you're thinking about, scrolling on Instagram, create Instagrams, right? Instagram posts. And also have a sense of urgency. Especially if you have a stoic mindset that you want to adopt, remind yourself of that memento mori, right? The reminder that we're going to die, a reminder of death. And that gives you a sense of urgency. I mean, do you want to spend the last moments of your life scrolling through Instagram? You know what I mean? So that kind of gives you, think about the version of you in a parallel universe that's crushing your reality right now, right? And how humiliating is it that guy is crushing it and you're here, just looking up videos after video after video. It's like, I don't want you to feel ashamed of this. I actually want you to understand it from this perspective, right? Because it's true. And if you are using this internet thing as an escape, where is the healing? Where is the healing that's taking place? You see? Let's say that you got rejected from a relationship and you're there and you're using the internet as a coping mechanism, right? Self-administered pain medication. Let's say you're using that. But where is the healing that comes into that, right? Are you working with a facilitator? Are you working with somebody and actually healing the parts of you that feel like need healing instead of being suppressed? Because all addiction to internet is doing is suppressing those negative feelings. So let me get into a little bit of the science, okay? This is why I want you to also practice having a dopamine detox, meaning take yourself away from technology, go into nature, go into the woods, go somewhere away from technology and just completely preserve yourself and your own mentality by doing that. especially if you're the person who works in an internet-based field or technology-based field, okay? If you understand the hippocampus, it's what helps your memory, right, in the brain. I'm simplifying it a little bit, okay? So memory is the learning circuits, okay? And the learning circuit is associated with our negative emotional circuitry, okay? That's why we have sometimes negative memories that stay in the hippocampus, okay? And that's why we don't want to do something, because that controls our behavior, right? And the most powerful thing that changes behavior is negative emotion. If you get bullied for wearing a shirt, you might find that shirt lame and you'll never wear it again. That's behavior change. Very quick, negative reinforcement gets you to change immediately. You get beat up for wearing some silly shirt, and you're like, okay, I'm never wearing this shirt again, like definitely got to change my style. That's just a random example, but you get my point, right? So what do you do to forget about your problems? The internet, right? For a second, you feel that sense of like, okay, I've escaped my pain, and I'm numbing it using this thing. So our learning gets stunted as we're numbing it, because what happens is, like, if you don't learn from your behavior, and if I drown my sorrows, right, I create a certain kind of relief. Like if I'm drinking alcohol, let's use the example of that, right? Every time that I feel sorrowful or I feel sad, I'm going to resort to alcohol because I know that it's created a relief in my past, and that creates this feeling of escapism, and then I become an alcoholic over and over and over again, because it's created the circuitry pathway in the brain that's the instantaneous reward, and the brain will follow that, all right? So the brain is actually not on your side. You have to take power over it. You need to be doing things differently than the way you're doing them. So the issue with escapism is that it doesn't help us to change. You know you need to be doing things differently, and you have all the knowledge, but you just can't bring yourself to do it. And I totally get that feeling. And then you come to a conclusion about yourself. I'm lazy. Oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, it's probably this thing. And then you blame the internet for what it was made for, to distract you. It's like, oh yeah, the internet, man. It's like, no, the internet is not the core of the issue. The pain that you're feeling, that you're hiding from, that's the work. The internet is just an enabler to that pain, because it's suppressing you. It's not letting you express yourself. You're letting the consumption and you taking your attention away from this external thing, like watching a movie or something, that gets you away from that thing. If we suppress our negative learning, we're actually turning off that prefrontal cortex and that part of that brain, and that's the same thing that happens when we enter a flow state, right? We're just at the task at hand, nothing else matters, and we're just doing that thing. What I would like you to do is just observe when you're going down that rabbit hole. It could be a scrolling rabbit hole, it could be a video rabbit hole, it could be a coding rabbit hole. It could be whatever rabbit hole you're going into. As you're noticing yourself stepping into it more and more and more, take power over that and actually catch yourself. And the moment you can catch yourself and become more conscious, more mindful of your internet usage, the more you can take power over it. If you're doing it unconsciously and subconsciously, your behavior is like, oh, I'm doing it again. Oh man, I'm doing it again. Well, what do I want? What do I crave? What do I need right now? Okay, I'm looking at the model that's very attractive right now. I need to feel like, I need to feel social. I need to feel like, pay attention to me, please, right? The validation hit and the dopamine hit from that. So once you recognize that, now you can actually speak to yourself with a lot more self-love and self-care and be like, hey, man, it's okay, right? These are projections, right? These are like fantasies, essentially, on my phone. Right? They're taking me away from the moment right now. I had a certain post very, very long time ago on my Instagram itself, which was funny that it was on Instagram itself, right? Because it's a perfect kind of example of this. However, so yeah, basically it was called the 7 Deadly Sins, okay? And you guys can see this, right? There's a post that I made a while back. This was it's got like 100 plus likes, right? July 2019, okay? So like a year back. So, yeah, it says, greed is YouTube, lust is Pornhub, pride is Reddit, sloth is Facebook, wrath is Twitter, envy is Instagram, and gluttony is Google. How interesting is that? Right? It's like I thought that was really profound, and the way that I saw that and I understood that, it just changed immediately in my mind for me. The internet is actually demonic. Not to be like, overly, analytical or like esoteric or anything like that, but there's a reason that people associate addictions with possession, or like this kind of thing that is out of our control. You know what I mean? So the thing is, when you can actually associate the fact that this is not for your higher good, that this is just a tool, right? So the thing is, your smartphone is a tool, right? If I give you a knife right now, you can use it to cut vegetables or stab someone. You know what I mean? But it's just, I just gave you a tool. Now it's what you choose to use that tool for that's going to benefit you. Instead of using the internet for your attachment, use it for your connection. It's social media, and I feel like people forget that social aspect. It's like people use it as a media, but it's a social media. It's like the whole point of it is to connect with others, not scroll endlessly and feel bad about ourselves. So come back to your own power. You've got this. I hope this video helped you out today. Share it with a friend. Have an amazing day, and may the flow be with you and stay legend.